we live in that world of instant gratification, and I'm sorry, but that's just, it just doesn't work like that. It takes a little bit of grind to get any point of success.
Hey, it's Brad here. It's 2026 and you're still using a tape measure and grid paper to do your drawings. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, iGuide. With the iGuide Planix R1 camera and laser system, you can capture an entire home in about 45 minutes. All of your measurements, photos, and a detailed floor plan all at once. No hand sketches, no guessing, no more. Was that wall 10 foot or was it 9 foot? Or, oh man, I forgot to measure the window offset. You just hit start and walk away. That's it. You're starting the job with accurate as-builts. And you can export straight to DXF, DWG, or RVT files so you and your team can get to work immediately. Miss something? Well, you don't have to worry about that because it's all right there in virtual land waiting for you. This is how you avoid costly mistakes. This is how you reduce change orders. And this is how you run a tighter operation. And more importantly, it's how you protect your margins. If you're serious about operating like a pro in 2026, it's time to upgrade. Go to hammerandgrind.com/iGuide. That's IGUIDE to order your iGuide Planix R1 camera today and start running your jobs the right way. Hey, welcome back to the show. On this episode, I have a very special guest, Chris McManus with GC Landscaping. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brad. I'm happy to be here, man.
Give us just a little bit of background about who you are, what you do, before we get into it.
Yes, my name's Chris McManus, located in Western North Carolina, and I run GC Landscaping among a few other businesses. 29 years old now, grew up on a farm, and yeah, pretty much been doing this straight out of high school.
Okay, so let's get into it. What made you decide to go? Well, what made you decide to start a business, and what made you pick landscaping?
There's kind of a longer backstory to that. I grew up racing motocross, wanted to race it professionally. Kind of got to the point where I was doing that, semi-professionally, traveling all over the country. Doesn't pay the bills too well, and my parents were great. They were very supportive, but I turned 18 and they're like, hey, you can live here, you can save some money, but we need you to kind of start covering the bills. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So needed something flexible. I knew I did not like school at all. Didn't really like listening to people either. So like, hey, I'll hang mow some grass. So borrow a lawnmower, borrow a weed eater. I think I bought like a $400 little trailer and pulled it behind my motorcycle van. And I just started mowing grass while I was racing. And did that for about 2-ish years, probably kind of a little side gig, if you will, just enough to pay the bills. And, about that time, I was like, all right, the motocross thing's not going to happen. And the quote unquote landscaping company was starting to get its, legs underneath it. And it was starting to take off. And I was kind of like, well, I'm going to just take all this drive and energy I'm putting into this sport that's not working, and I'm going to put it into this business because I don't know what else to do. Don't really have any other skills or passions, I guess. So I'm going to see what happens. And here we are.
So was the lawn care just because that was like the easiest thing to kind of get into, or what?
I mean, pretty much. It was low cost entry. Like I said, I liked working outside. I liked working with my hands. Kind of grew up with an entrepreneurial family a little bit. Like everybody did, grandpa did this and the other grandpa did this and dad did this. And
Gotcha.
it's kind of like, just liked working on stuff and liked the gratification of, striping up the lawn and trimming bushes and all this stuff. So it's just kind of one of those things just happen to circumstance, like it's just kind of there and we did it and it kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like a lot of people that happens, very few people are like, I want to do this. This is, what I mean? Like when my wife's one of those people, like when she was like 12 years old, she was like, I want to be a physical therapist. And then from that point on, everything she did was to be a physical therapist. But I think some of us are just like, it's whatever the wind was blowing that day, wherever we landed, it's kind of what we go with, right?
Mine was just, hey, I'm going to be a motorcycle racer. And then, when that finally realization came that, hey, that's not going to happen. Like I said, I didn't know what else to do. I knew I didn't want to go to school and I was already doing this. So I'm like, all right.
I feel like I've seen your name before in motocross. I don't know. Like, is there videos and stuff on the internet about you or?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's some. I did it for I don't know, 17, 18 years. Did it since I was a little kid. So I'm sure there's something out there.
I just feel like I've heard that name before. I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence thing, but I've heard in motocross, like unless you're factory sponsored, you're pretty much it's going to be difficult to to do well.
Pretty much. I mean, you can kind of get to a certain point without that. And then, yeah, you need to be picked up by a team to, be able to like pay your bills and make a living. And I never got to that point. Honestly, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I was up in Indiana, awesome track. Bike was almost perfect, brand new gear, looked great. Just should have been just one of those killer days. And I think second lap, I was exhausted. I'd probably worked 60 hours that week mowing grass and had an 18-hour car ride. And I don't know, third or fourth lap, I'm getting lapped by one of the pros at the time who was like a year younger than me. And it just hit me like a truck. I'm like, I'm done. Like I've missed it. We're done. And I remember just crying like a baby all the way home, 16, 18 hours home. Cause that was like, dude, that was your whole life. And just is what it is, man. I mean, looking back, I'm glad it didn't work out. I think I'm too
Yeah.
greedy, frankly, for what that pays, but just one of those things. It's like, all right, time to go to work.
I was going to say, you probably don't regret that decision now based on where you're at. You probably don't regret not being able to race professionally. So
Not at all.
awesome. So, okay. So you got into the lawn care and you started that. I'm sure that branched into landscaping, all kinds of things. Did you have kind of like once you decided to do it full time, did you kind of have like a vision of where you wanted to take it, or was it just kind of flying by the seat of your pants?
I'd probably say the first 2 years of doing it was just straight flying by the seat of my pants. I knew I wanted to be a big company. I wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted to be known for just communication, good quality, etc. And I remember I was mowing grass, but I only had one or two employees, and just listening to music all day in your headphones. I'm like, there's got to be something more productive I can be doing, while I'm sitting on a mower. So, found out that, hey, there's this app called Audible, and there's all those killer books on it. So just started knocking out books left and right. Like, I mean, dude, it was that first year I knocked out like a book a week almost. Like I knocked out 40 or 50 books. And that was just killer. So that really started to open my eyes to, I guess, what's capable or what's out there. So then I started kind of formulating a vision. And it's like, all right, I want to get this thing to a $5 million valuation, and then I want to exit it. Like I didn't know people built businesses to sell. So like, all right, I'm gonna get 5 million. I'm gonna sell for 5 million, and then I'm done, and then it'll work again.
Right.
And then of course we, obliterated that number. And as you kind of get older and you grow up a little bit and things change, it's like, all right, I don't think 5 million is my number. And that's, we kind of moved the goalpost there, and we up that to the $25 million valuation. So that's kind of the objective now.
Gotcha. How long did it take you to get to the 5 million?
Probably 4.5 years.
Okay. And at that point, like how many employees did you have, and kind of how was your business structured at that point?
I mean, honestly, man, that was probably only 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. I think we were probably running 6, 7 guys at the time, and didn't have any like admin office help. Like I did all that. I did all the selling, did all the admin stuff. I still kind of help in the field some as needed, but was, mostly out of the field. I think we were probably running 4 or 5 crews at the time. And, basically 2 or 3 of those crews were doing landscaping, and 2 or 3 of those crews were doing lawn maintenance. We were just leasing a little piece of real estate from my parents, actually, the same little shop we used to do all our motorcycle stuff out of, a little half-acre lot. I was just leasing it from them. I had a little, it was a 10 by 20 shed as my office. Ran power to it, and had a porta-john outside, so that was our restaurant. Yeah, that's what it looked like then. That's honestly, man, it's kind of hard to believe. You don't think about it. It's only been 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, clearly easy to say that you had very low overhead from a property and all that stuff perspective.
Yeah, big time.
Which helps, right? A lot of guys would like want to get out there and get an office and buy all this equipment and just jack up their overhead early on, and it's just like you're just going to slow your growth when you have all that overhead bloated like that. It sounds like you just kept it lean for as long as possible.
I kept the back end stuff super lean. I'm horrible. I'm right there with it, with the equipment and the trucks. Because again, up until honestly, man, probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when it got to the point that we were getting so big that those numbers were biting me, hey, we're super busy. I don't know if we're making money or not, but my checking account's got more money in it this month than it did last month. So I'm going to go buy $200,000 more worth of trucks and enough skid steer because we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Um, so that side overhead it was heavier than it should have been. And I think looking back, one thing I've learned really just in like the last 6 months was talking to a good friend of mine. And he's like, man, you got to hire the back end first. Like you got to get those systems dialed down and just, what's the client experience look like? You got to get all that stuff nailed down. And that's something that we, frankly, were absolutely terrible with up until a year ago. Like that's been my focus the last 15 months probably is like, we got to, instead of carrying all this on my back, which frankly is pretty much what I was doing. I had great field guys, but everything else I was carrying. It's like, all right, we got to get some office people in here. We got to get some better software in place. I've got to get better on my numbers or I'm going to run us into the ground. Not that we weren't making money, but just cash flow wasn't great. Cause we just have a lot, like a whip sheet would be insane and have a lot of money just unbilled. Like I'd have months of lawn maintenance that just hadn't been billed yet. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Cause this is what my focus, like my focus was like, get the jobs done, make the customer happy.
Yeah.
That's, we definitely came a little ways in the last, 18 to 24 months.
So what do you have? Like, do you have an office manager? Do you have what's your structure now?
So now we ended up about a year ago. We got a 7,000 square foot building with a couple acres, all fenced in, gated, all that stuff. So we got into that. Was able to buy that actually, which was killer. I've hired a general manager, and I've hired what we call an account manager and a production manager. So each one of those is layers to customer facing and kind of dealing with some more of the day-to-day stuff. And like right now these days my main focus is recruitment and sales is primarily my day-to-day roles.
Okay, so you still handle all the sales. Do you have any other salesmen or is it just you?
I handle about half the sales. My account manager handles probably 95% of our lawn maintenance sales.
So your account manager kind of runs a lot of the lawn care side of it, the maintenance, general maintenance stuff. He's selling those. And then you're doing probably more of the larger projects, the new construction, the pools and stuff like that, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm doing the stuff I still hit some small ones, but most of the stuff that I'm selling is, 50, 100, 200 grand plus.
Gotcha. Okay. Curious, how did you go about finding your general manager? Because I know that's kind of that's a big milestone for a lot of people is that, install a general manager. How did you go about finding that person?
Yeah, I've known this guy for probably 4 years now. We got introduced forever ago. He actually came out of Charlotte, which is only about an hour east of us, and knew he was kind of over Charlotte and was wanting to kind of get up in the mountains. That's where he was, grew up and raised. And he'd worked for a handful of different landscaping companies through his career, all in some sort of, operations manager, general manager, account manager, just various roles. So had a wealth of experience, and I finally just put together a good enough offer to get him up here. I do think that that's something that people overcomplicate a lot. I think if you can find a solid leader that's got, of course, experience is huge, but it's, in my opinion, that's not a have to. I think everything's pretty trainable.
Did you have at this point when you hired him, did you already have pretty much all the systems in your business figured out, or was there still some things that he had to help implement, or how did you navigate that?
I had the introductory phase figured out. Like I knew how to sell the work. I knew how to schedule work. I knew how to get the customer to buy and for us to show up and do the work. As we got bigger, one thing that I was lacking in was, I hate to say policing employees, but I don't know a better term for that. Just kind of managing some of the smaller stuff, making sure the trucks are getting washed on the right days, making sure they're coming in on time and not getting a bunch of, unapproved overtime, making sure the trucks are fueled up, equipment's running, inventory's good. And honestly, even some of the financial stuff he's helped me tremendously with. Just again, kind of some of the more granular stuff that I'm not good at. I'm more of a bigger picture guy. So, he was able to help me with quite a few of those.
Okay. All right. So you knew about him and you kind of were, you had him in kind of as a picture of someday maybe I might bring this guy on, and then at some point everything connected. You said you knew him for 4 years. You knew of him for 4 years.
Yeah, we had met a good 4 or 5 years ago, probably.
It's interesting because I know a lot of other people. I have some clients that are kind of the same boat. They had a relationship of some kind with this person. Whether it was a account manager at a vendor or some other way and then over years they develop a relationship, and then that person ends up coming on and being a general manager. I would think that that probably happens more times than you just post an Indeed ad and then you find a general manager that you've never met before.
Yeah, I think, and of course, it probably depends on the business and the size and location, all that stuff. In my opinion, those key people, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Facebook, that's probably not where you're going to find those people. They're going to be found through, networking, connections, relationships,
And
etc.
I think a lot of times those happen. I was just, one of my clients today was talking, or yesterday, that one of the people that he works with, like one of the vendors and stuff, there was an admin girl there who just through conversation brought up that she was not really happy and was looking for another opportunity. And then now all of a sudden he may have an office manager, that comes on board. He wasn't really looking for one, and it just happened to have a conversation, and then they just kind of all the stars aligned, if you will. But I think a lot of that stuff just takes time. Like, you have to develop those relationships over time.
I agree. And I think you got to be willing to put yourself out there to, take the extra 3 or 4 minutes maybe to talk to that person or talk to that vendor. And that's something I'm horrible for, is I'm all business. I'm not good at that. But as I've gotten older and kind of realized the importance of all that, I've tried to take the extra step, because like I said, that's 90% of my day to day now. So that's, if we need somebody and can't find somebody, then that falls on me. Like, I've not been doing my job good enough.
Yeah, that's so important. I mean, like I was the same way. Like, it was just like all business. I've had clients that literally tell me, like, or even leave a review, like, Brad does great. Those guys are great, but he needs to smile more, or like he needs, you know what I mean? Like, he needs to.
I've heard that.
And it's like, well,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be professional, and I'm trying to give you the best experience.
Right,
And I'm like, it's like, yeah, but can't you just say, hi, how was your day? It's like, no, I don't have time.
Yeah.
So I get that.
I actually this was just yesterday morning. I took a lead call, or I guess it was last week, but I met him out there at the property yesterday, new build, and I rolled up, I'm like, wow, you're younger than we thought. You sounded like a grumpy old man on the phone. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, I have to work on that, man. I'm sorry.
I don't know if you do this or not, but I always have my clients listen to their sales calls. Have you ever recorded your calls and listened to yourself?
I haven't. I should, but I haven't.
It's one of the best, honestly, it's one of the best feedback that you can get, because I did the same thing. The way you talk is not the way that you actually sound. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times you think you're being funny about something, and then you listen to it again. It's like, man, I sound like a jerk when I said that. It's really good tool, honestly. Listen to yourself when you on a sales call or talking to people. We do it all the time. It's really good. But I'm just like you. I'm just saying, all down to business. Let's get to it. It's taken me a long time to overcome that. And I was in the military, so it's like even worse, because the military, it's like, I give you an order, you execute, no questions asked, kind of thing. And it took me a long time to really learn, like, how to be a leader, like how to lead people. Not tell them what to do, but actually lead them to want to do that for you. So that's definitely something I resonate with, for sure. Okay, so how did you, as you started expanding and doing more services, like, how did you decide to get into pools or to get in some of the other services? I'm on your website and I was looking at all the different stuff you guys do, which is a lot. Like, how did you decide to get into these different areas?
So, and I agree. I have this battle with myself a couple times a week. Like, I really sometimes think we're doing probably too much. We're a mile wide and an inch deep. But on the flip side of that, I look at some of these really big successful companies, and they're doing the same things. So I'm like, okay, well, if they can do it, why can't we? So anyway, we started out, I think, like, when you start mowing grass, all these guys, like, they're going to ask you, hey, can you trim my bushes, or can you put some new mulch out? Like, that kind of goes hand in hand. And then that kind of evolves into, like, all right, can you fertilize the yard? Can you reseed the yard? Or, hey, I want to add this flower bed, put a couple plants in. Like, it's kind of all a natural evolution, I guess. And then, like, for us, as we got into kind of higher tier clientele, I guess, especially on the residential side, it's like, hey, I've got a couple of irrigation leaks. Like, can you fix those for me? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It's no problem. No clue how that works, but yeah, absolutely. So self-taught on that stuff. None of it's rocket science. So, figured it out, teach the guys, and now I don't have to do much with that. Went and had, of course, carry license for some of that stuff. And then the rest of it, in my opinion, kind of goes hand in hand. Like, if you want a fire pit or a patio, stuff like that. And then the pool thing, I grew up watching that show, Insane Pools,
Okay.
which I think probably a lot of us have on Discovery. And it's like, I just remember thinking, like, it'd be so cool to build something like that. And then probably 2 or 3 years ago, as we're doing these awesome patios and landscaping around all these new pools, they're like, yeah, our pool contractor, we weren't really happy with him. Like, we wish you did pools because we'd hire you. And I'm like, well, yeah. And then it got to the point where like I was turning down pools. Like, hey, we want you to put a pool in. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, we don't do that. Like, we'll do everything else, but we can't put a pool in. And you turn down enough of those, and it's like, maybe we should put some pools in. Like, this is crazy. So I started putting some feelers out there about a year and a half ago. And there's not a lot of competition in our area. There's just a handful of people that are doing pools, and I personally know of several of them, and they're all just, to be honest, they're kind of getting up there in age. And I'm like, I wonder if somebody's being ready to retire. So anyway, put some feelers out there and ended up making a deal with a lady that was ready to sell. Been in business 40 years, and ended up acquiring her, I think January, February of 2025. It's about a year ago. And that was kind of the goal. It's like, okay, we're going to buy all this experience in one go and just kind of figure it out. And so we kind of got all the 40 years worth of connections and relationships and knowledge, and all that stuff. And then it's kind of just took off from there. I think we did 10 pools last year, and I think we've done 3 so far this year. So it's getting there for sure. I mean, that's been a fun, challenging, but it's been a fun learning curve.
When you bought this lady out, then did you like bring on all her staff, or how did you?
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a pretty small company, but it came with, it was 5 employees. And once we got the deal done, I did a one-on-one with each one of them and said, hey, love to have you. Here's a, $1, $2, $3 an hour raise. I bought this out because of the people. Like, I had no intentions. I'm not really changing a lot. I just want to do that. So we ended up kind of getting that done. And then we took all the construction aspect, which they weren't really doing a lot of as they aged out. They were just kind of subbing it and giving it away. We brought all that in-house to the landscaping company. And then that's where the pool retail store came from, because they were running the store. They were doing like, liner change outs, services, water testing, selling chemicals, all that stuff. So all the new construction, came under, my guys now, and my equipment and landscaping company. And then the pool store with service and sales is its own entity, kind of off to the side.
Okay, I wasn't aware that you actually had the retail side of it as well. So the guys that you hired from her, like, did they have experience on how to build pools, or how did you like figure out how to build pools?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. They knew some of it. Part of, again, wanting to acquire them was getting all the connections, and we got with all their vendors, and was really fortunate. They had 1 or 2 guys that's basically almost their role is to, hey, you sell more product if you develop more pool builders, because then these guys can buy more product.
Right.
So we were really fortunate. We had a vendor or two that had a guy who still comes and helps us if we have a trouble spot. So he's taught me a lot. Other connections that the seller have taught me plenty. And then again, a lot of just self-learning, which that's where the challenging part comes in. We screwed up plenty, but I think we're getting pretty good at them now.
I was gonna say, I mean, pools aren't cheap, so that would be, I would think, for a lot of people who are thinking about venturing into pools. Like, I mean, you could lose your butt on if you don't really have some way of knowing what to do, or have some deeper pockets to be able to cover some of those mistakes. I mean, I would think that you can get in deep trouble pretty quickly on a pool.
Yeah, our third pool last year, we lost $109,000 on.
Oh wow! Was that just what happened on that one?
Yeah, that one hurt. Subcontractors primarily. I'm not going to lay the blame on them because it was my fault. But we had some stonemasons coming out there and doing coping for the pool. And when they went to pour what we call a bond beam, which is just like an 8-inch, basically footer, if you will, around the top of the pool that our coping sits on. We had the pool done. We'd already took it off pressure. It was backfilled at that point. Didn't have water in it, but it was ready for water basically. And they came around to the coping, and they used 36-inch form stakes to form that bond beam. Well, my plumbing's only 32 inches deep.
Oh, so they hit plumbing lines with it.
Yeah, 6 different spots. And again, my fault not having it marked and not leaving it on pressure. So they got done. The next day, we poured 21 yards of concrete pool deck. And then about 2 days after that, we had water in the pool, and we go to turn on the pump and everything, and there's mud everywhere, leaks everywhere, water coming through the concrete.
Oh man!
So we got to demo out 21 yards of fresh concrete and hand dig everything up, and replumb the whole pool, re-backfill, re-pour all the concrete. It was that's fun.
That's not a good time. Hey, just a quick time out from the show. If you're a frustrated contractor who's dealing with low profit margins, stuck working on the tools every day, or doing free estimates for people who are never going to hire you in the first place, I invite you to my private contractor community, the Profit Club, where contractors just like you are adding 2 to 3 times more profit each year without producing any more jobs and finally getting completely off the tools to never do another free estimate again. So if you're ready to increase your profits, stop doing free estimates and get off the tools, then all you have to do is click the link in the show notes to learn more about the Profit Club and see how it can easily 2 to 3 times the cash in your pocket, give you a proven sales process that will convert more jobs with ease and get you off the tools once and for all. And the best part is you can do all of this without having to produce more jobs than you currently are. Click the link to learn more. Now let's get back to the show. You said that was like your second or third one you did?
I think it was technically our third, I think, last summer.
Yeah, that would be a bad day, especially if someone's like just kind of starting out and wanting to get in the pools. I mean, obviously you have lots of other business and you've had, successes there to help cover some of that, but that's still a bad day.
Yes, that much money still, I mean, it still hurts. It's kind of like everything else. I mean, it's definitely not rocket science. It's not hard to do, but it's also not hard to screw up. So when somebody wants to get into it, I would really encourage it, but I would really, we did it a little different with the acquisition and, maybe some people aren't able to do that. So like, I would almost say, hey, go work for somebody for 6 or 8 months. That's splitting these things in. Like you'll learn more in that 6 or 8 months than, you could ever look up on YouTube.
Yeah.
That would be my recommendation. And yeah, that was something that I don't think you could ask for better teaching if you can find somebody that's good, but you can, kind of learn under.
It's so funny because even around here, there's a few pool companies that have been around for a while, but even the ones that have been around for a while, like you'll hear all kinds of horror stories about not doing good work. And it's like, how can you do something that's, probably minimum 80,000, if not over 100,000 up to 200,000 for and not do a good job at it? It just blows my mind.
I think it depends. So like, I don't know how familiar you are with it, and I don't have to get too technical with it, we'll waste time, but there's fiberglass pools, there's steel wall liner pools, and then gunite pools. What I hear the majority of those horror stories is the gunite, just because there's so many moving parts. And typically, at least in my area, it may be different in other areas, but it's all subcontracted. Like you've got 1 or 2 guys that are running the pool job, but it's nothing but subs. And if they're not vetting their subs and policing them, and they don't understand enough about the process to make sure it's going correctly, it's pretty easy to get in trouble. And at that point, any quote unquote fix is going to be pretty crazy expensive. Fiberglass and your steel wall liner is more economical than gunite, and that's primarily what we're doing, are those two. And I still hear horror stories about those, but there seems to be a lot less of them because they are certainly easier to put in.
Yeah, I've heard some of fiberglass are probably the easiest to put in. You dig a hole and set it in there, but then you got to deal with like it, floating and like heaving and all that stuff too. But this is totally off topic. Would you ever watch Cletus McFarland? You know what I'm talking about? Have you watched his home building series at all? His videos on his home he's building?
Bits and pieces.
Okay, well, he built a pool in his backyard. That's the Chevy bow tie emblem. Have you seen that?
I have.
Okay. I was just watching the video. It was last night or night before, and they were just finishing the pool, and they were using the product is like it's almost like an epoxy. You probably know what it is, but it's not gunite, but it's sprayed in and then it's smoothed out, and it has like rocks and glass and
it's form of plaster, but yeah.
But anyways, that's what they put in there, and they were showing some of that. But the guy the company that was doing the pools, they said they do anywhere from 30 to 60 pools a week. That's how big of a company in Florida. I mean, obviously a lot of pools in Florida, but I was like, holy crap, that is a operation.
That is a serious operation, and that's awesome. Also, again, very easy for a couple of those to go bad.
Sure. Oh yeah, I would imagine. All right, let's talk about, so how did you, as far as marketing your business, like what have you done that's worked well for you to get as many leads and help to grow and do bigger and better projects over the years?
We don't, man. That's what I think we're getting to a point. I've noticed our lead flow it's not declining, but it's kind of almost getting stale. Like I'm getting enough lead flow to maintain, but not necessarily increase, or at least not increase at the pace I want to. But really, the only thing we do, I mean, it's pretty guerrilla style. I mean, we wrap all our trucks. That's huge. That's probably my
Yep.
biggest, marketing investment. I think I've ran Google and Facebook paid ads once ever in almost 7 years doing this. It's all word of mouth. We're horrible on social media. That's been a push for basically 2026. It's like, okay, we have to do better. We got to do better with our website. We got to do better with social media. Trying to do a lot better with Google reviews, but we've served hundreds, if not thousands of clients at this point. I think I have 50 or 60 Google reviews. Like it's laughable. So that's a big focus for us, but honestly, it's just, it's word of mouth. I'm not discounting that. Like that's a good thing, but I think if we would have started working the social media and the review aspect of it 4 years ago, we would be, light years ahead of where we are now. But
Yeah.
very little marketing for us.
Well, I mean, obviously, referrals, word of mouth is the best type of lead you can get, right? The only problem is it's not scalable. Like you can't predictably get referrals, you know what I mean? So that's the only downside to that. If people are listening, though, I want to go back to what you said because I preached this to the choir. You said that you wrapped all your vehicles, and that's such a. I mean, I'm always telling people you need to wrap your vehicles.
Oh yes,
and I always get so much pushback from it. So I mean, obviously you just said it, but like, what has been your experience directly from your vehicle wraps?
Hey, I saw your truck going down the road. Thought I'd call you. Hey, I saw your truck working at the neighbor's house. Thought I'd call you. Hey, I see your trucks everywhere. You guys must be doing really good. We want you to come to our property. Like it's not man, I've been wrapping my trucks since as soon as I was making enough money to wrap my trucks. Like that's just, started with like the sticker on the door, and that's better than nothing. But like now we do, it's probably, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000 a vehicle, and we do basically a 2/3 of a wrap. Something that stands out, and it's like, yeah, those are the red trucks going off the road. Like people recognize them. And we're running 12 trucks, I think, on the road right now. So I mean, it's a rolling billboard. Like,
Yeah.
I think,
oh yeah, I mean,
you can afford $2,000 to wrap your truck. I mean, come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's cheaper where you're at, but here it's like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 to wrap a vehicle, but
one job.
It's worth it. It's still worth it.
One
even
job
at that cost. It's still worth it.
You get 1 or 2 jobs, and it's like, oh shit, maybe, okay, now it's paid for. So now for the next 5-7 years, it's free advertising.
I had my truck wrapped way back in the day, and this was like really when wraps were kind of brand new, like really coming on mainstream. And it was funny because like within a year or so of having my truck wrapped, people would call me and they go, "Hey, I see your trucks everywhere," like plural trucks. But it was just my truck. I was the only one truck, right? But because I was driving everywhere doing sales and stuff, it gave the appearance, like you just said, of a larger company. And, whether you agree with it or not, like if you have multiple vehicles, it makes people believe that you're a larger company who's doing well, right? Like you're a trustworthy company because you must be doing something right if you have that many vehicles. When you do have that many vehicles, it just further makes that, drives that home. So I just wanted to bring that up because it's so important. Like, guys, you have to wrap your vehicles. It's almost a non-negotiable.
This is off topic, but yeah, guy that I know is kind of in our space. He's talking about, was at a conference a few months ago. And same thing. The one truck, it was wrapped, but that truck was numbered, like it was from a fleet. So I think one side said truck 12, and then on the other side of the truck, it was truck 24. So like, the guy called him, was like, "Yeah, I saw truck 24 out the road." And he's like, "Oh yeah. Man, one truck." But it's just, you got to get creative. You're bootstrapping.
Yeah, I've actually thought about that. I never put numbers on my truck, but I always thought if I were to do that, I would start with like truck, 8 or 12 or something like that. You don't start at truck 1. It's like you have, I did do that whenever I started using checks, or not checks, I'm sorry, estimates, right? I didn't start with estimate 1. It was like estimate 125 or something like that.
Of course, I've sent a bunch of these out this month.
Yeah, just to kind of, I mean, I'm not like trying to lie or anything or deceive people, but just to kind of make it seem like we're doing a little bit better than what we actually are, because we're new starting out. So, all right. So, what do you think is like, if you had to nail it down to like one thing, what do you think is like the most important thing that you've done right in your business that has led to this level of success?
And that's an awesome question. And I don't know. I've done a lot of things wrong. I've done most things wrong. It's going to be super cliche, Brad, but I would say you just can't quit, man. You can't quit. Like that thought has crossed my mind. I mean, there's days even now where it's like, God, it'd be so easy just to be, be done with this. But, if I'd have quit that first time, I'd have hated myself for it. It's just, kind of just being able to grind through it, frankly. Just don't, like I said, it's super cliche, but just figure it out, man. Tomorrow's a new day. The sun's going to come up. Just keep hustling, keep figuring it out. It'll get better.
Are you the type of person though you're not really afraid to try something new? Would that be fair?
Yeah, super. Yeah, I'm too far that direction. Like I'm going to take this huge bite.
Okay.
I'm probably going to choke on it and pretty much die, but then I'll start coughing and figure it out, when I've got about 10 seconds left to live. Like it's just, but I mean, that's just how it's been since I can remember.
Well, I think that is actually, I don't want to say superpower, but that is definitely a benefit, because I know a lot of people that, they're more on the perfectionist side and they don't want to make any mistakes. So they live in analysis paralysis forever. They want to watch, 1,000 YouTube videos on how to install a pool. And then 6 months, a year later, they still haven't, gotten to a pool. And so like what you're saying is like, you're not risk averse. So like you'd go out there and take a big risk and just figure it out.
But I was, look, I started this, I was living at home. I had no bills. A lot of people aren't, you may have a family, a mortgage, all this stuff. Like when I took the pool thing on, that was a lot of money. I mean, that was high 6 figures for that acquisition. I was in a decent enough financial place where like I knew I was going to take a hit and I could probably stomach it. And, I had a little boy at home and a wife, but, just tiny little house, low mortgage. So it's going to be different for everybody on the risk scale. But yeah, I've just never, I don't know. I mean, I heard this same guy that I was talking about that was wrapping the trucks, with the 12 and the 24 also made a great point. You gotta break a few legs to make an omelet. And it doesn't really make any sense, but it's basically like you can't be a perfectionist. You just can't. I mean, you'll never get anywhere. You'll stay stuck. And it's like, look, it's not going to be perfect. I mean, man, I go back and look at jobs we did 3 or 4 years ago, and it's like, this is horrendous. Like, I don't know how they paid us for this, but it's just, you can't live in that world. Just do better, treat the people right, be fair, be honest, be open, be communicative, and you just constantly improve. If you can get that little 1% better every day, it's just, it'll compound, it'll get there.
Yeah, it makes sense. Riding motocross is obviously, I mean, you can get hurt pretty seriously doing that, right? And so like that makes sense as to why you're not afraid to take risk. I mean, obviously you're not irresponsible. Like you're still planning, you're still making smart decisions, but you are taking a risk and you're not afraid to take that risk. And I always say, like I was the poster child, or I am the poster child for what not to do in your business, in your construction business, because I did everything wrong that you're not supposed to do, right? So learn from my mistakes is kind of my philosophy. But yeah, you can definitely be paralyzed by not taking risk. My wife's the complete opposite. Like she does not like any risk whatsoever. And so we're always kind of butting heads on that, because I'm like, let's go risk this. Let's try this. Let's do this. Let's see what happens. And she's like, no, I don't want to take that risk. But as a business owner, if you want to have really any level of success, you have to be able to take risk, and then learn from your mistakes as soon as possible.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that?
100%. It's a John Maxwell quote. It's a fail forward fast. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you're going to fail every day, but failed, figure out why you failed so you don't do it again, and then go on to the next thing and do all that quickly. It's just keep it rolling, because you're going to screw up like to this day, every single day. But it's just, was talking to a good mentor of mine not too long ago. And it's like, look, as the businesses get bigger and you scale and, maybe you're doing 20 million in revenue, 30 million revenue, whatever the case may be, you're still kind of dealing with the same problems, so to speak. You're just a lot better at handling those problems. And I think that strikes home. I mean, I know, at least for me personally, there's stuff that happens almost on the daily here that would have paralyzed me even 3-4 years ago. And now it's just, it's just part of it, is what it is. Move on. No point dwelling on it. Don't waste the brain space.
Well, and the other thing about the entrepreneur journey is you're not, when you're at 300,000, you're not going to be dealing with mistakes that the same mistakes per se that when you're at 5 or 10 million. Like, so as you grow your business, you're really building your, what's the word I'm looking for? You're building your muscle of like dealing with problems, right? So like you have a problem that you think is, when you're at 300,000, you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to survive this problem? And then you get over it and you're like, okay, I survived it. And then that's preparing you for the next level of problems that are going to be even harder. And so as you're scaling your business, you're basically like graduating your threshold of pain, if you will, of dealing with all of these problems. So I did a podcast episode once where it was like, if I knew every single thing that was going to happen in my business before I started my business, I would never start a business, right? Because like if you look back of all the problems, all the things you got to learn, all the things you got to implement, all the things you have to build in your business, like it's overwhelming. But luckily, you don't have to do all of it at once. You kind of do it in stages and graduate as you go. So would you agree with
Yeah,
that?
100%. I had this conversation with it was actually this other podcast last week, and it was like, hey, looking back, would you do it all over again? And half of me is like, there's no effing way. And then the other half of me like, well, yeah, if I knew what I knew now, yeah, I probably would. Cause instead of taking it 6 or 7 years, I could probably do it a year or two,
Right.
but it's,
Oh yeah. You've learned so much that you could go into a new market probably tomorrow if you had to start the exact same business and be where you're at today in like less than 2 years probably. Because you know what to do, right? Awesome. All right, so we're getting a little close to the end of time. I want to ask, like, what would be your best advice for someone listening to this podcast who's wanting to grow their business and maybe they don't, maybe they're not see the light, they don't see the path forward, maybe they're struggling a little bit, maybe they're considering quitting. That's what reminded me. You talked about thinking about quitting. I always joke, I quit my business like 365,000 times in my head. You know what I mean? But like the next day I'd wake up and everything was good. But anyways, what would be your best advice to someone listening to this?
I was thinking probably a two-part answer. I think the biggest saying, and this, again, this is going to sound like you're beating a dead horse, but it's knowing your numbers, knowing your break even, your hourly rates, your daily rates, your weekly rates. What do you got to do to here? What do you got to do there? And, I thought I had a good handle on that stuff. And again, as we scaled and, it's like, yeah, we lost $5,000 on this job. Not the end of the world. Well, now we're talking, oh shit, we lost $100,000 or we lost $200,000. Know those, like, and then not only do you need to know them, but like, hey, I just added 2 more trucks to the fleet. Okay, make sure your overhead is getting adjusted accordingly because it's just increased. That was something I wasn't doing at all. So make sure everything's kind of staying in sync as you scale and making sure you're up to date on your most current costs and overhead and numbers. That would be a big part of it. I think if I'd done a better job that 5 or 6 years ago, I could have saved myself a lot of pain and heartache. And again, I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. The second part of that is just push through it, man. You just got to grind it out. Like I don't care how you sugarcoat it, even these overnight success stories. Well, that overnight success story probably started 10 plus years ago. So it's just, you just got to put in the work. And I see that with so many people, they're in something for 6 or 9 months. I mean, I've even got buddies that have started their own little thing and cool product, good work ethic. And then, 6 months down the road, they're, making nothing, peanuts. And it's like, oh, this doesn't work. I'm like, dude, like you just like, stick with that for 2 years and then tell me that, or 5 years. Like it's just, we live in that world of instant gratification, and I'm sorry, but that's just, it just doesn't work like that. In my opinion, I don't know of a single, especially blue collar business that works like that. Like it takes a little bit of grind to get to any point of success.
It definitely takes a lot longer than what most people think it takes, time wise. I mean, yeah, there's some people get lucky, some people have connections or whatever, but for the most part, it definitely takes longer than what you think it takes, and it can be a grind. So I would definitely agree with you on that 100%. Awesome. Any last words of advice for anyone listening? Anything that we didn't cover? Any question I should have asked you that I didn't?
Man, nothing comes to mind. Just say, everybody's out there probably having a bad day, bad week, anything like that. Just, sun's going to come up tomorrow. Just keep getting at it. It's going to get better. Just stay after it, man. Don't quit. Don't give up. Just keep putting in the work. It'll come. It'll get there. I've got a long way to go, but like I said, I've wanted to quit 1,000 times over, and every time I'm super glad I did, and we made it through it. And every time that happens, you grow and you learn, and it just keeps getting a little bit easier and a little bit easier and a little bit easier. And it's just levels to the game, man. You just got to make sure you stay in the game.
Yeah, that's so true. That's good advice. My kind of thought is like, if I want to quit, I just say, we'll just wait till tomorrow, right? Like, we're not going to quit today. We'll do it tomorrow. And by the time you go to bed and wake up in the morning, that your thought's gone. You're like, okay, I'm ready to get back at it. That's probably one of the best things I could say is like, just say, oh, we'll quit tomorrow. We'll quit next week. We're just not going to quit today. So, good stuff. I know you're a man of Audible. I love Audible as well. So I always ask all my guests this: what's a book that you're currently reading, or one that you would recommend?
Yeah, there's a ton. I just finished yesterday one of Alex Hormozy's first books. It's $100 million Leads. That was killer. Short, straight to the point. That's a super good one. And it's a little. Some people like them, some people don't. But I'm a big Grant Cardone guy. 10X by him. That was one of the very first books I read, and that kind of really changed my perspective on a lot of things. So if somebody's getting in, that was a big eye opener for me. Any of the Kiyosaki books are super good. I don't know if you're familiar. You're military. You're probably familiar with Jocko Willink.
Oh yeah,
was it
Extreme
Extreme
Ownership.
Ownership? That one was, for me, that was phenomenal. That would probably be just off the cuff. Unless 3 or 4 right out of the gate that are just killer books, in my opinion.
I made Extreme Ownership required reading for my employees.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and that's a great idea. That's something I need to look into.
And I would also pay them. So it's like, hey, if you read this book, I'll give you, $25, $50 or whatever. So I'd have them read the book, and then I would just ask them, very informal, like, hey, what did you learn from the book? What was your biggest takeaway? Just to kind of make sure they actually read it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not having them do a book report or anything, and usually they're like, oh yeah, I learned this and this was really great. So I had like a curated reading list. It wasn't very many, like 4 or 5 books. And I would just encourage my guys to read books and then incentivize them by paying them. So
I got
the Extreme Ownership is really good.
There's one more Brad I just thought of it's a little outside the sandbox, but I knocked this one out around Christmas time. Fans First by Jesse Cole. It's actually the guy that started the Savannah Bananas. That one was, that shot to probably the top 5 favorite for me. That one was killer.
I have his other book, which is the
Banana Boss.
Find Your Yellow Tux.
Yes. Also a good one.
I don't think I've actually read it yet, though. It's on my shelf, but I don't think I've actually read it. I hate reading books. I'm definitely an Audible guy, so it takes me a long time to physically read books. But anyways, Chris, I appreciate you hanging out with us, sharing your experiences with your business, and all of the things that you've done to really grow this business that you have, and then also into the future. Wish you much success in that as well.
I certainly appreciate you, Brad. Appreciate you having me on, and really enjoyed it, man.
Awesome. All right, guys, that's the end of the episode. Oh, one more thing I was going to ask. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, is there a good way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Me personally, it's probably just via Instagram. It's Chris McManus 151, and then the landscaping pages. Like I said, we're trying to do a lot better on that stuff. That's GC Landscaping Inc. on all social media platforms. But we are doing better, posting some cool stuff: pools, kitchens, patios, lawns, stuff like that. So, yeah, absolutely, check it out. You got any questions? If I can help anybody, just shoot me a DM. Happy to talk.
Awesome. We'll put your links in the show notes too, so people can go and find your socials and stuff. I did want to ask you one more question. Are you familiar with Evolve Landscape and Design? I think they're in South Carolina, but they're in the Carolinas.
I don't think so. I'll be honest. I don't think so.
Okay. They do a phenomenal job on their social media. So, and they do landscaping, pool. I mean, they basically do the exact same thing you do. So that might be a good person just to kind of follow to see how they do they do really, really good job on their social media. So
awesome. Yeah. Check them out.
Evolve Landscape Design.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Check them out.
He was actually a guest on my podcast in the past too. So anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate your time. You know where to find us. You can just go search for the Hammer and Grind podcast on all the socials. Go to the show notes to get all of the links to things we talked about. And remember, until next time, profit is not a dirty word.